morning of January 15th, 1947, a woman walking with her daughter through a vacant lot in Los Angeles looked down and saw what she initially thought was a store mannequin lying in the grass. She was not a mannequin. She was a 22-year-old woman named Elizabeth Short. And what had been done to her was so methodical, so precise, and so deeply calculated that 79 years later, not a single person has been charged with her murder. This is not a cold case that went cold because investigators stopped looking. This is a case that has consumed detectives, journalists, and researchers for nearly 8 decades and still has no answer. Elizabeth Short was born in Boston in 1924. By her early 20s, she had made her way to Los Angeles, drawn by the same dream that pulled thousands of young women to California in the post-war years. She was described by people who knew her as warm, outgoing, and strikingly beautiful, with dark hair and pale skin that would later give the press the nickname that has followed her name ever since, the Black Dahlia, a name she never knew, a name invented by tabloid journalists after her death to sell newspapers. Elizabeth deserved better than that nickname. She deserved an answer. She has never gotten one. The crime scene told investigators several things immediately, and each one raised more questions than it answered. Elizabeth's body had been completely drained of blood. She had been cleanly bisected at the waist with surgical precision. Her body had been washed thoroughly before being placed in the vacant lot, and her face bore cuts at the corners of her mouth, a detail that was withheld from the public for decades as a means of filtering false confessions. The precision of the wounds suggested someone with anatomical knowledge, a surgeon, a butcher, a medical student, someone who understood the human body well enough to work on it methodically. And without apparent hesitation, she had not been killed at the lot. She had been brought there, displayed there. Whoever did this wanted her to be found. The investigation that followed was the largest in Los Angeles history at that point. More than 150 people confessed to the murder in the weeks after the discovery, a number that reflects both the media frenzy surrounding the case and the reality that voluntary false confessions in high cases are far more common than most people realize. Every confession was investigated. Every one was ruled out. Investigators identified and cleared dozens of genuine persons of interest over the following years. Former boyfriends, acquaintances from the rooming houses where Elizabeth had stayed, men she had been seen with in the weeks before her death. Nobody was ever charged. Then, in 2003, a retired LAPD detective named Steve Hodel published a book making an argument that shocked the true crime community. He named his own father, Dr. George Hodel, a prominent Los Angeles physician, intellectual, and socialite, as the killer. Steve Hodel had spent years building his case after finding a photograph among his late father's possessions that he believed depicted Elizabeth Short. He argued that his father had the anatomical knowledge consistent with the wounds, the social connections to move freely in the world Elizabeth had inhabited, and a documented history of criminal behavior that had previously been suppressed. LAPD files released after George Hodel's death in 1999 confirmed that he had indeed been a suspect in the original investigation, and that investigators had placed surveillance on him and recorded conversations inside his home. In one recording, George Hodel was captured saying, and this is documented in LAPD files, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, They couldn't prove it now. George Hodel was never charged. He left the United States shortly after that surveillance and lived abroad for decades. Whether that conversation was a confession, dark humor, or something else entirely, nobody alive can say with certainty. Steve Hodel's theory is the most documented and most seriously considered of all the proposed solutions to this case, but it remains a theory. The physical evidence that would have confirmed it was either lost, degraded, or never collected properly in the chaotic early weeks of the investigation. Other researchers have named other suspects over the decades, and each theory has its advocates and its gaps. The honest answer is that no theory has been proven. What is confirmed? Elizabeth Short was murdered by someone with anatomical knowledge, significant composure, and enough connection to her life to have had access to her in the days before her death. The case was mishandled in its early stages in ways that permanently damaged the evidentiary foundation, and the one-man investigators themselves placed under surveillance. The one man whose own recorded words brushed against an admission died in 1999 without ever being formally questioned about it in a court of law. 79 years, hundreds of investigators, thousands of pages of files, dozens of named suspects, and Elizabeth Short is still waiting. She was 22 years old. She had come to Los Angeles looking for something most people her age were looking for, a life that matched what she had imagined for herself. She deserved that chance. She deserved an answer. The city she came to never gave her either one. Some cases stay open, not because the truth is unknowable, but because the window to prove it closed before anyone was ready to look through it properly. The Black Dahlia case may be the most devastating example of that in American criminal history. The answer may have existed once. Whether it still does is the question Los Angeles has never been able to stop asking. Subscribe for more amazing true crime story every week.